What is up YouTube? Sid from Cool Moviegram, your source for everything about cool movies. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and tell your friends about me. Today, I've just wanted to kind of like go through. I haven't really done any unboxing videos recently. I've had like quite a few different purchases. This is just a haul that I did before. I got the Blu-ray for The Hangover. This is again a repurchase. I bought this once before, lost it, or someone borrowed it or took it and then never returned it. And then I got The Hangover Part 2 as well. And I thought, hey, why not? I didn't get the third one. The third one was just a letdown. Another repurchase was Tropic Thunder, the Director's Cut edition. It comes with a DVD and a Blu-ray. And and of course this is the extended version. I think it's definitely one of my favourite comedy films. And then lastly, it was also, I got another one coming as well. This is Fright Night Part 2, the 1988 film directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, which is a sequel to the Tom Holland directed classic Fright Night, which starred Chris Sarandon, Roddy McDowall, and William Ragsdale. This one here has William Ragsdale, Roddy McDowall, and also the beautiful Julie Carmen as, hands down, possibly one of the hottest female vampires of all time, Regine Dandridge. This is a Spanish version. This is the Spanish Blu-ray that had come out, and it's of course all region. You have the 2.0 Dolby Digital for English as well. Picture quality was pretty decent, and kind of browsed through it. I'm going to sit down and watch this properly because this is one of the very few sequels that I actually love. I love the original. The original is one of my all-time favorite horror movies, and possibly up there as my all-time favorite vampire movie. But this one was, a pretty good sequel. This is actually a really good sequel, and I'm just glad to have it on Blu-ray because I already have the Eureka release of Fright Night, the original, which is again a brilliant release from a 4K restoration. And this one, I don't know if it's an upscale or if it's actually from HD or not, but the video quality on this is really good. The great sound, and the movie's never looked this good before, but I'll probably do a review on this later. And lastly, it was Raging Fire, which is why we're here today. We're going to be doing a review of this film. Now, this isn't the Steelbook 4K release. This is just the standard Blu-ray, which I've got. And I'm going to be doing a review of this film. And before that, there's just a package. This is from HMV Dalehouse. Right, the HMV depot. Let's just see what we have over here. Let's just open this. I don't really care for how good it looks or not. Ooh. Yes, the Blu-ray Premium Collection from Warner Brothers. It's a HMV exclusive, Mr. Nice Guy. Yep, let's just open this up then and see what's here. Okay. As you can see, I've trimmed my beard up as well, so you kind of like just trim the sides down just so it kind of looks a bit more presentable and neat. It's just getting a bit too thick. Okay, right now, this is only available from HMV themselves. And this is the extended original cut. Now, Warner Archive had already released this via their Warner Archive line in the UK, in the US. And this is pretty this is okay. I mean, apparently it comes with this nice little slip case, and also if you go inside, because I knew this was coming out, I was about to order the US version, but yes. And this is the what else is on the inside? It's just got the Premium Collection from HMV. It says the Premium Collection, just a little pamphlet. It's got a list of all the films on the back. And that's the disc over there. So there isn't really much disc artwork. and it's pretty much just a standard, like almost like the Hong Kong cinema poster. That's just a still from the movie that they've got there, with, of course, the legendary man Jackie Chan himself. Yeah, this film was released in 1997. This was after Rumble in the Bronx had actually been released. That was originally made in 1995, Rumble in the Bronx, and that was picked up by New Line Cinema slash the Weinstein Film Company, Miramax, to publish and to release in the US, and that was actually a big hit. And then they decided to release this along with First Strike. And okay, yeah, this is like almost like the original, the DVD cover. I mean, I've still got the New Line Cinema DVD, and this is pretty much the same kind of cover. This is the original poster. I remember that you got this poster, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and it's actually pretty interesting. I like that. Yeah, and you got these lobby cards by Warner Brothers themselves, because this came out on the New Line Cinema label. It's the same thing with Rumble in the Bronx and First Strike. They were released by yeah, and then even though it didn't do so well in the West, made its money on video, but overall it was a bigger hit in its original country. Now these are the lobby cards, as you can see there. That one there. You've got stills, like, you know, lobby cards from the movie itself, and then yeah, you know, it stars Jackie Chan, and he also, Richard Norton is the bad guy, and I know he's like the chef and everything. And I've seen this movie various times. I remember the extended version of this came out. I think I saw it on Channel 5 once. They actually played it, and yeah, I mean, apparently this is a yeah, this new, yeah, it's actually from a 4K negative, a 4K scan from the original camera negative, and also yeah, there is no other special features. This is a very bare bones release, and that's what I've heard about a lot of these Warner Archive releases that are coming out. They just don't have the they don't have the actual the full version. This is just a very kind of bare bones release, and yeah, probably we'll be doing a review for this later on, and yeah, see how it goes. I mean, but I like the hardbound cover. I mean, of course, they're trying to kind of like cash in on this whole physical media explosion, especially when it comes from boutique labels like 88 Films or Eureka Entertainment, and now Arrow Video are actually starting to kind of like release a few more, like releasing these classic Jackie Chan and Hong Kong titles with amazing kind of like treatment. But the thing is, the only thing that they're lacking is the bonus features. They need more bonus features on this, but definitely I'll be giving this a watch, and I'll be having a look at see how the film fares in comparison to the New Line Cinema DVD that I've had for so many years. Right, anyways, now getting back to reviewing the product, which is the movie today, reviewing, is Raging Fire, directed by the late Benny Chan, and stars Donnie Yen and Nicholas Say, or Chi, however you pronounce his name. I don't know. Some people have different ways of pronouncing it. Now, Benny Chan's actually was one of the most foremost successful commercial filmmakers of like the last few years or so, when he was, well, since the last couple of decades, making movies with high profile names such as Andy Lau, Jackie Chan, and also an array of newcoming stars such as Nicholas Say himself, Daniel Wu, and Stephen Fung and such. He did films such as Gen X Cops, Gen Y Cops, the sequel, which don't really talk about. They had a few duds. His debut, of course, the crime drama romance, tragic romance story, which is A Moment of Romance, starring Andy Lau, which was a hard-hitting kind of like everything goes to hell type of Hong Kong movie. Only movies that could come out in the early 90s or late 80s in Hong Kong. Nowhere else would actually kind of make movies like that. But yeah, And this was kind of like yeah, his last film. During this film, he had actually kind of like he was diagnosed with cancer in the last stages. So he knew that, yeah, this is going to be my last film because I ain't going to make it. I ain't going to be able to see the finished project. So he kind of like advised the man who was doing the editing to actually, yeah, this is what I want from the movie. And yeah, and then this was his kind of like a hurrah. Now the film itself, it centers around a police officer played by Donnie Yen, called Staff Sergeant or Senior Sergeant Bong, and he's kind of rubbing the wrong way alongside other senior members of the police who are kind of one of those really kind of shady cops, and he's not kind of like want to bend his integrity or bend the rules in any sort of way. So he's he's a man who sticks by his principles, and yeah, he feels that he has to do the right thing. He's a loving husband. He's due to be a father soon, and when a raid on a wanted criminal goes wrong, where a gang of criminals, of a gang of thieves, headed by a man named Ngo, played by Nicholas Say, who's a former cop who was working under Sergeant Bong and was fired because of misconduct. And then, as the story develops, you'd see that everything was planned by Ngo and his fellow colleagues, who were also part of the police force, to get revenge on the police force and the people who had wronged them. And Donnie, it kind of becomes a cat and mouse game between the two, between Bong and Ngo, sorry. That yeah, it's just kind of, well, puts everything on. They both decide to kind of like put everything on the line. Now, this film itself, the plot itself is very kind of intricate. I wasn't really kind of expecting a plot this kind of like drama heavy and such, but it did pretty well. I mean, a lot of people were kind of like saying, "Oh, it's not like the usual Donnie Yen fare." They were kind of expecting another Flashpoint, but this movie is not another Flashpoint. This movie was, I would say, kind of, Donnie Yen comes across as a lot more human. I mean, there are fight scenes in the movie, but it's not just fight scenes. This is kind of like a very hardcore, kind of like gritty, grimy kind of, really kind of street level Hong Kong kind of crime drama. But at the same time, it had like some ballistic action sequences that you would normally see in like movies that were made like maybe in the late 80s up until the early 90s. Even like, for example, when it comes to the final showdown between Donnie Yen and Nicholas Say, they even kind of like, it's kind of like makes reference to the ending of like the end of The Killer, like the final shootout of The Killer, because it kind of takes place in a church, and that you can kind of see it because the church was also kind of had like scaffolding up, and it was kind of in construction on the inside, and it just kind of harked back to the John Woo classic. And I thought it was an absolutely, wow, this movie was great. I mean, one of the things was because everyone was used to seeing Donnie Yen, especially when he's playing like a cop in a movie, he's always this very kind of indestructible badass. It's like, it's nothing to him. For example, like he can get hit, he can get kind of like cut or whatever, but it would never hurt him in a movie. Like he's too much of a badass for that. He was like literally, the Donnie Yen facts are kind of like the Chuck Norris facts of Hong Kong when it comes to the Hong Kong cinema world. Like, yeah, he can do what he wants. It's like, especially if you've seen the movie Triple X Return of Xander Cage, it's like, yeah, at the end he's like, he kicks the crap out of everyone on a plane. He's shot, but you see Vin Diesel escape from the actual aeroplane, but Donnie Yen's already on ground. I'm like, my friend was like, how the hell did that happen? I'm like, yeah, because he's Donnie Yen, he can do that. But in this movie here, in Raging Fire, you see a more human side to Donnie Yen. It's like you see that he's not this totally indestructible man. He's a man who's got a lot to lose. He's got a loving wife. She's expecting their first child, and at the same time, there's one scene in particular which kind of like it showed a more human side that to the character, where Donnie Yen's actually, after like a an intense shootout, you'd see that like Donnie Yen's actually kind of covered in bruises. He kind of like, he takes off his shirt, he's still got a vest. I mean, for once, Donnie Yen doesn't go totally topless in a movie, which kind of like was always the case. He'd always end up finding a way to remove his shirt somehow, somewhere for the movie. But like, you'd see that he's got bruised ribs. You know, he's got like a kind of like a tooth kind of like comes out and stuff, and like you'd see like, you know, he's kind of, and you could see that he's in pain. So this is the first time you'd see that Donnie Yen playing someone who is this vulnerable. You know, he's someone that actually kind of like feels pain. He can get hurt, and he's kind of bruised. He's got bruises, and it kind of reminded me of the character Jake, played by Jack Nicholson from Roman Polanski's classic Chinatown, where, you know, the guy, he was actually kind of bandaged up, like his face was bandaged and whatnot, and wearing sunglasses whilst he was kind of going through the movie because he'd actually got beaten up. But even here, even though Donnie Yen's like this really kind of skilled martial artist cop who's a cop, but he could still get hurt. And, you know, so on and so forth. You know, he shows a more human kind of element to his character, which I've never seen Donnie Yen do before, because again, he was always playing the indestructible badass, but in this time around, he's a lot more of a human type of person. Even if he gets hurt, even if he's bleeding from his nose in other movies like in Flashpoint, it doesn't bother him. He can still fight. He can fight through the pain. It doesn't matter. But this one, he is hurt, and I like that as well. And what I loved about this movie, that the action is absolutely ballistic. I mean, it's not just a fighting movie about fighting, but the fight scenes, there are a few in the movie which are all well staged, well choreographed, and well shot as well. The cinematography in this movie is great, but then it's also got some really kind of interesting, like really kind of cool car chases. There's one involving like a motorcycle, and the shootouts are, wow, they're ballistic. Something like this you'd never see in a Hong Kong movie in the last few years or so. You'd never see something this kind of like full on. And I thought, wow, this me, I was kind of just like geeking out all the way through. I wish I got the opportunity to go and watch this in the cinemas, because it was such a brilliant movie. I mean, this movie is great, and Nicholas Tse is a brilliant bad guy. I mean, he did great in Benny Chan's film Shaolin, which starred Andy Lau and also had Jackie Chan in a small role. It featured Wu Jing and others, and Nicholas Tse was the antagonist of the film. He did pretty good in that, but in this one, he's a lot more of a badass. He's not the slimy, slithery type of person he was in Shaolin, but he's a lot more just very kind of like just focused. He knows what he wants. He's telling his kind of the way that he controls his colleagues, and you see his kind of metamorphosis from this really kind of idealistic, you know, cop with a good future who's got a beautiful fiance, and he's looking to kind of like work his way up the ranks, to kind of someone who's kind of got his opportunity taken away because of a mistake, and he seems bitter about it. And then how he kind of like went down to this kind of, well, this path of darkness, and you know, it just kind of completely changed him. Now the bonus features on this is okay, you got the three trailers. We got the original trailer, the trailer from the director, and you also got the mission trailer, which is about the plot. And then you got 6 featurettes, each of them kind of like just highlighting action sequences in the movie and such. And then there's a couple of them that include like excerpts from interviews with Donnie Yen and Nicholas Tse. And yeah, it kind of just shows how much kind of what level of like just badassery, amazing kind of like skill and craft was put into these action sequences and the film itself and the fight choreography and such. I mean, the action director was Donnie Yen, but also with the fight choreography, it was actually Kenji Katsunagi, who's also has worked with Donnie Yen on a couple of other movies, and has also worked in movies like Time and Tide. And he had also done the fight choreography for Rurouni Kenshin, which is the Japanese samurai movies based upon a Japanese anime and manga. And this was actually again, this was pretty good. I mean, it's just a very kind of a gritty crime thriller, and a gritty, you know, very action packed and fantastic, kind of like something that harks back to the the late 80s to the early 90s Hong Kong cinema, with the kind of films that we haven't seen in a long time. And it was great. It was just one last hurrah for Benny Chan, R.I.P. I mean, this was his last movie. He died before the release, and definitely this was, I mean, I would say one of his the highlights of his of his filmography. And of course, now I ain't going to talk about the quality of the movie because it's a brand new film. The film was released in 2021, so on Blu-ray it's going to look amazing anyway because it's a brand new film. I mean, you got the Cantonese language available, which it comes as either DTS HD audio for 7.1, or you get 2.0, which is perfect if you're just watching at home. 2.0 is actually a really good mix as well. And the sound effects, everything about this movie. I mean, I would say I'll give this. I mean, the only minus kind of setbacks I had was that sometimes they might delve into the backstory of the characters a bit too much. Like the flashbacks seem a bit too kind of like prolonged at times. But other than that, the narrative structure, that it has that little kind of like hiccup there, but overall it kind of kept me glued onto the screen. I mean, very rarely would a film would kind of have me that going. Maybe it could have benefited from being maybe 10 minutes short or 5 minutes short, but it's a highly recommended film. This is a cool movie, Graham approved, highly recommended movie. One of like Donnie Yen's best movies in his filmography, you know, for a long time. I mean, it kind of like finally he's actually doing something different from like the Ip Man movies. But yeah, this is one of his better cop movies, definitely. I would say, you know, maybe the action and the simplicity of films like SPL, aka Killzone, and it may be Flashpoint, the action was a lot more kind of like choreography based and such, like in terms of the fight choreography. But this was overall, as this is just like a complete package of an action film, and I totally recommend this. This is actually, I would say, 4.5 out of 5. Let's just be generous. 4.5 out of 5. Highly recommended film. That was my review for Raging Fire, and of course, I just kind of like went through a few my latest haul and an unboxing. So it's a pretty fun video. I enjoy making this. I'm actually doing this whilst I work. So okay, be sure to comment. I mean, if you've seen the film, what was your thought on this? And okay, and what and any of the other movies that I've just kind of like have purchased, what's your thought on them too? I mean, I will be doing a review on Fright Night 1 and 2 on the same video soon, so be sure to check that out. And tonight I'm going to be going watching the Godfather Part 2. So yeah, and thank you for all those who have actually kind of bumped up my my subscription, and I'll see you on my next video.